Hey guys, I hope that wherever you are listening, you're having a really, really wonderful day. And I hope that your summer has been the best one ever. It's been a pretty good one around here, with the exception of some sickness that has been running through my family for the last couple weeks here. But I'm pretty hopeful that we're all on the mend at this point. And please forgive any of that sickness that you might be hearing in my voice. Hopefully, I will be able to make a comprehensible podcast episode. Today, I am super, super excited to tell you guys about a brand new piece of music that happens to be out right this second. I made almost no announcements about this whatsoever, which is par for the course for the series that it belongs in, and that series is called Astronomy. And if you're unfamiliar with what my Astronomy series is, it is a series of mostly instrumental music inspired by astronomical events. And I kind of like to think of these pieces of music as like the film score or like the soundtrack to these beautiful discoveries and events going on in the observable universe. So a recent news story was actually the inspiration behind the piece of music that I'm sharing with you guys today. You may or may not have seen, but astronomers for the first time ever in history were able to photograph the birth of a planet. I seriously can't even get over how incredible that is. 370 light years away, apparently, and some tiny humans were able to invent and build a tool capable of capturing the formation of a new planet. That's absurd. That's crazy. This baby planet's name is PDS 70b, which is such a cute name. And if you haven't already seen the picture, please go check it out because it's just really beautiful. It looks a lot like an ultrasound, which I think is rather appropriate. Anyhow, as soon as I saw this image, I began writing the piece of music that I'm about to share with you. I love all things space, and I have for as long as I can basically remember. So it is truly a joy to write these pieces of music inspired by these real events and discoveries going on. No matter how much I learn, how precise or impressive the data is, how beautiful the imagery is, I still feel like I'm barely scratching the surface in terms of understanding what any of this really means. When I read that astronomers were somehow able to take a picture of something that is 370 light years away, I have no frame of reference for actually how far that is. I just know that it's super, super far. And when I read that this beautiful baby planet is several times the mass of Jupiter, and Jupiter is 2.5 times more massive than all of the rest of the planets in our solar system combined, I just have no clue how big that is other than that it's just massive. And I think my lack of reference for how incredibly huge or beautiful or amazing these things really are is a huge part of why I love astronomy so much. Astronomy itself is essentially teeny tiny beings, us, trying so very hard to wrap our heads around things that are so incredibly big. And I love the noble attempt at that, and I relate to it. It reminds me of love and God and all other things that are huge and infinite. And so my way of processing that is to write music about it. And these instrumental pieces of music are my way of sort of wrapping my head around these beautiful events and discoveries going on in the incredible universe around us. I am totally rambling. Let's go ahead and listen to the song. I've never made this recommendation on any of my music before, but I wrote this piece of music with the intention that it would be played as loudly as you are comfortable hearing it, because I'm assuming that in the process of a planet being born, it would get quite loud. So here is June 30th, 2018, PDS 70b, Birth of a Planet. So a couple weeks ago, I was in a studio called Electrical Audio in downtown Chicago, which, as a side note, is such a cool studio. It is filled with wonderful engineers and people and gear and everything about it I just love. It also happens to be where I recorded my first album, Ghosts, and several other different elements of my previous records. So anyway, it was super fun to be back there. And the reason I was there was I was recording several instruments for my upcoming song, 6. Which is currently what is playing right underneath me talking right now. But I'm going to turn it off because it's not quite out yet. And that song was, of course, inspired by the Enneagram Type 6 and belongs to my Enneagram series of songs. And by the way, I am so excited to share that song with you guys very, very, very soon. At the end of this podcast, I do have some official release dates for my Type 6 song. So anyway, at the very end of the session, as everything was kind of being packed up, I just took a minute to sit down at their beautiful Yamaha grand piano and just played a few totally random notes that I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. So as part of my normal writing practice, anytime I sit down at a piano or hold a guitar or anything musical, if I play anything that I remotely find interesting, I will record it onto my iPhone, and basically forget about it and never think about it again until I go back and dig through those recordings and find something that all of a sudden makes sense. So this entire piece of music was actually based on that little recording that I made at Electrical Audio on my phone. So when I decided to write this Birth of a Planet song, it was really fun to kind of have this seed already there, and it felt right. So it's funny because the melody and what it actually is doesn't really play a significant role in the song at all. It sort of evolved into this entirely different thing, but that was the germ of this song, was this sound.
One of my favorite guitar players of all time.
As you can hear, it's not played very well, and there's a whole lot of talking going on in the background. But something about that feel and tone was, like I said, the starting point of this song. And this is how it actually turned out in the song, which I think has so much more to do with what this piece of music is all about. So though it's dressed up with effects and lots of different layers kind of swirling around it, at the very beginning of this song is the sound of an orchestra tuning. And I've always loved that sound because it always evokes the idea of something beginning. And so I thought it'd be a perfect way to start a song about the birth of a planet. And the sound itself is from an earlier song of mine called Noble Aim, which came out several years back as part of my yearbook series. So it was really fun to reimagine that sound as the score for the birth of a planet. So here is the original sound from Noble Aim. And here it is in Birth of a Planet. So as I was researching and reading everything I could get my hands on about this incredible feat, this photograph of a planet being born, I just kept imagining like what would this sound like in terms of a piece of music. And so I really wanted it to sound dark and distorted, but I really wanted it to be beautiful too. So those were sort of my guiding words for this song, was just wherever possible, make it distorted. But never, ever veer away from it sounding beautiful as well. I wanted to make sure that it could still kind of hold both of those things at the same time. So my vocals that you can kind of hear weaving in and out of this song, that was sort of, I like the idea of it representing the team of people that came together to take this beautiful birth photo. So on the front half of this song, there's all these deep and distorted kind of growly sounds happening. And those are actually made by this little tiny instrument that I have called a Stylophone Gen X1. So if you aren't familiar with what a stylophone is, it's this it's kind of inexpensive little musical instrument. It's essentially a toy. It's about, I don't know, 8 inches wide and 5 inches deep and 2 inches tall. It's this little rectangle that has a little tiny pen, a little stylus that you run up and down this flat surface of metal keys. And it makes these kind of cheesy synth sounds. I have one actually in my hand right now, so I'll demonstrate. So anyway, that's the original Stylophone, but they came out with a new version that I discovered actually at Electrical Audio when I was there a couple weeks ago. They had one sitting on their desk, and it was a very fun toy for all of us to play with. So I bought one immediately afterwards, and it became kind of like a fun centerpiece of this song. And I just love that these sounds were created with this little tiny toy. But this the Gen X model that I created that with has all sorts of really cool filter and LFO envelopes and delays and all that kind of stuff. So you can get some pretty fun sounds out of this seemingly cheapy looking toy. It actually looks really cool. I shouldn't say it looks cheapy, but it's plastic and it feels inexpensive in your hand. At the very center of the song, there's all sorts of drum machines, and I had the best time ever working on that stuff. Very frequently, my daughters would come down to the studio and would just have these random dance parties with me, so it was very fun, and I so enjoyed working on that element in this song. It definitely is a carryover from my work on my Enneagram Type 5 song, which also featured quite a bit of programmed drums and that sort of thing, and something about it made a lot of sense in this piece of music, so it was apparently I needed to get a little bit more of that out of my system. Oh, and the drums were created using my Teenage Engineering OP1 and a couple different pocket operators from Teenage Engineering as well. It was super fun to write these little drum moments, and had a lot of fun working in that elements and trying to make them sound as big as I could possibly make them sound. Which seems to be a theme in this song, using as small of instruments as I possibly can to create as big of sound as I possibly can. But the best part truly was the multiple visits from my little girls doing some really impressive dancing. And the tempo of the song is 70 BPM, and that is, of course, a nod to the name of the planet, PDS 70b. So there you have it. That is my new piece of music and my new addition to my astronomy series. I so enjoy getting to talk to you guys about it. Thank you so much for listening and for being curious. I hope that you will seek out the rest of the astronomy songs, all of which are in a neat little playlist on Spotify, which you can find in the show notes. And I'm sure it goes without saying, but the piece of music you're hearing today is available wherever music is. So I'm really honored to share it with you guys. Today was a little bit of a quicker episode, but the good news is that my upcoming Enneagram Type 6 song is coming up very soon. If you're an Atlas subscriber, 6 will be in your inbox on July 26th. And the official release date for my Type 6 song is August 3rd. So it will be available everywhere music is on August 3rd. But if you want it early, it is available on the 26th for Atlas subscribers. And more information on that can be found on my website or in the show notes as well. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope that the rest of your summer is really beautiful. And let's listen to the song one more time now that you've heard a little bit of the intentionality behind it. Awesome. Have a really wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much again for listening. Truly, truly means the world to me.